Good morning, guys. I am Katie from It's a Creek Farm, and today we are going to be talking about trellising in our high tunnel. We would love it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel so that we know that you guys are liking our videos. This is our third season growing in the high tunnel, and we have not really found a trellising system that we like. The first year we used T-posts and we put them in the ground, and we did some trellising from the rafters here on our high tunnel. And last year we did the Florida weave or Texas weave, whatever you call it, wherever you're at. And we did some cattle panels, and then we did a lot of trellising to the rafters. If you're trellising from the rafters of your high tunnel, you either have a whole bunch of plants that are leaning, or you have to line your plants up under the rafters, and they go the short way here, and we wanted to do long rows this year. So I'm trying a few different things in here, and I want to see how they work. I'm not sold on any sort of system yet, but I thought I would show you guys what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, so that if it does work, we have it on video for next year. Here we have our peas, and these are our sweet peas, and I made out of scrap 2x2s and strapping, I made this A-frame, and then I just took this netting. It was like $6, $7 on Amazon, and so we just took this netting and we just stretched it across the whole thing. Along the bottom I wove some trellising twine in, and then I just landscape stapled it every few feet, and it's working good. Now I will admit that that project was a lot harder than what I was planning on. There's definitely ways to improve putting that together and building that for next year if I decide to do that again. Overall, if I wouldn't have done it by myself, it would have been fine. And I probably would next year invest in some better quality boards and all that, but I was just using what I had on hand because I needed to get this trellised before the plants really started growing. So it was more of like, what can I do with what I have on hand to try to create something that I can do all these plants on that'll be sturdy. And it is sturdy, it's holding up great, and they are loving it. On a few of them on the south side, I am having to take tomato clips and clip it on there, or take their little tendrils and wrap them around, because they are leaning out towards the sun. But it's holding up great, and it's doing so much better than last year. Last year I had some metal grid things I had gotten off of an old canopy gazebo, you know, like those ones that have the fabric top. We had one of those. It got damaged in a storm, so I saved the sides, which were like trellises kind of, and so I used those, and this is working so much better because it's a lot sturdier. Now over here I was trying to make one of those something similar to, you see bean and pea teepees in like cute little gardens and stuff. I was trying to do something similar to that because I just wanted to see how it worked, how it looked. And so I trellised them up to the rafter up there, and they're doing fine. I did wait too long to trellis them, so it was kind of made it harder because I obviously should have trellised when I planted. That makes life so much easier, but I didn't. And so it was just one thing that got away from us. It seems to be working fine. It was very labor intensive though, because you're constantly getting up and down and up and down. Okay, so these beans here are bush beans. They're not going to need any type of trellising. We did have last year, and we're going to do in here this year, some Chinese noodle beans. Over here we have our cucumbers, and last year we had those on almost like big round homemade tomato cages, and that worked well. I liked that. But I would like to have something that's a little easier to prune and clean and get get on the inside of. So that is something we want to change for the cucumbers. So then on to the tomatoes. These are the first ones, and then those are the later ones that were the leftovers. And they definitely need to be trellised. I had Owen come in and put this wire up. That's going to be kind of my main plan for the tomatoes in here, and I have a few different ways to trellis them up to that wire. But last year we had some trellised up to the rafters, and then others we did the tomato weave. The Berry's Crazy Cherry, Brad's Atomic Grape, we did the tomato weave method, it was a good method. I think I probably picked the two craziest tomato plants that we have to do that method, so it didn't really work the best for me, and I couldn't really get the twine tight, and I don't think my rows were quite long enough. I don't know. And then we used U-posts instead of T-posts because we didn't have any T-posts. It didn't seem to work very well for me. So this year, my main plan is that I'm going to run above each row of tomatoes. So I've got 2 here and then 2 on that one. I'm going to run a row of high tensile fence up almost just below the purlins or the rafters up above me. And then I'm going to take the tomato trellising twine and drop down from that and have them trellis up to that. My hope is that it provides a nice stable structure for them to grow up to, but then at the end of the season, I don't have to take the time and ladder and all of that to come down and cut all the twine down from the ceiling, because I didn't have time to last year because of pumpkin season and then Christmas tree season. And then by the time it was warm enough to get in here this year and really start working, and I had the time because I sold one of my businesses, it was time to plant. So I feel like I need to make something that is easy to take down, so I don't have a whole bunch of twine hanging and I don't have to take a whole day to come down and cut hundreds of twine pieces off of my rafters. And I need something that will be nice and tall and structurally able to hold all these tomatoes. Originally, we were going to put a 2x6 right through there and then drill a hole and put an eye bolt and mount it that way. And when we were trying to get all the materials for this and everything and the spacing, we realized that we had these extra brackets left from when we put the high tunnel together, and we decided to try this instead. So we're just mounting those brackets. The high tensile just runs right through there, and then we just tighten it up so that it's snug. We don't want to have it as tight as we have our fence. Obviously, we're not putting springs on there. We're not doing anything like that. We just want a nice snug wire running from one end to the other that we can hook twine onto, and so that it supports the trellis. So seeing everything I need to trellis and wanting to be more efficient at it and have a good way to trellis without having twine everywhere and getting tangled up in twine and all of that, I started thinking early this spring on different ways I could do it. I knew that running the high tensile on the ceiling or right below the purlins was something that I wanted to do, because then it keeps everything up and out of the way. And the issue I was having was that the hooks for doing tomato trellising, like the hooks to hook them up, usually have a whole spool of twine on them. I don't need the twine, and they're really expensive, and I did not want to spend that money on that. So the original plan was that I was just going to take the twine and like loop it around the high tensile like I did last year. So instead of running across the rafters, it would run the opposite direction and wrap around the high tensile. And then I realized that that solves my problem of having to run the rows horizontally, but it did not solve the problem of having to take all that twine down. I started looking around the house for different clips, different things I could try, and I came across I think they're called curtain clips from IKEA, or like little photo clips, and they're like little alligator clips, and then they have a little hook and loop on the end, and I thought those would be perfect. Except sometimes you don't quite know how strong they're going to be and if they're going to hold up a tomato. I know that the hook would be on it, but the alligator clip itself, the twine or the wire, depending on which way you hung it, could possibly not be strong enough. So I started looking at other options, and then I was looking on Amazon at just different ideas so that I could just brainstorm. So I typed those in and was looking, and then I came across there are 1 3/4 inch little hangers that are made for like socks or price tags or something like that. So I bought a case of 500 of them, so this will last me a very long time, and they were like $7, I think. What they are these little white hooks. They have a little hole on one end and a hook on the other. My thought behind this was that as long as it's strong enough, I could take and put however many are in a row on the high tensile like that, and then I could just hook the twine right to that, and then it would be super easy. At the end of the season, we could pull them all to one end, unhook them, they're good to go. So that was the original plan, and then Owen and Beck helped me put up the first strand of high tensile, and we forgot to put these on it. So I was thinking about that, and I thought, well, you know, maybe that worked out well for a reason, and so it would be nice to be able to unhook these from the high tensile too. So, but I'm not quite sure how that'll work. So I decided I'm going to do half and half. I'm going to do half like this and half like that. I'm going to do one row. You know how our tomatoes are like a big row of 2 rows and then another big row of 2 rows. I'm going to do one in each one, whatever way, that way. One in each row, each way. And the reasoning for that is then that way, if let's say I want to hang lights in there in the fall, I will be able to, and these guys will be on there, and I can just run a string of lights right on the existing hooks. I'm not going to need the rows are like 18 inches apart, I think it was, may have been 12. And I'm not going to need 2 rows of these guys 12 inches apart unless I'm permanently using them for trellising. But knowing that we are probably going to put some tables in there for graduation party next year, I don't necessarily want the whole thing covered in hooks. So that is my plan for that. I'm also going to try this for the cucumbers as well, and for the Chinese noodle beans. And then I was watching a trellising YouTube video the other day, and they were talking about the lower and lean method for trellising. And so I thought, you know what, since I'm kind of hodgepodging the trellising everywhere else, I might as well try it and see if I like it, because then I can use it for next year. So I ordered a pack of these hooks, and these guys are more expensive, but what it is it's a hook, and it's just got twine wrapped around it. You can reuse these year after year. I really wish they just sold the hooks and not the twine, because I have the twine. It came with our high tunnel, and I have like tons of it. But we're gonna give it a go. So I will show you that as we go there. You can look up, Google the lower and lean trellising method, L-E-A-N, trellising method, and it looks pretty unique and pretty interesting. So I'm going to try this on some of the Amish paste tomatoes, since they are the ones that really have a tendency to fall over, at least so far, and they're at the end of the row. And so I'm going to try that method on the Amish paste tomatoes as well.